Hi everybody, this is Harmony with Harmony Stitches and welcome to my channel. Here we talk about my crafting journey, which usually revolves around cross stitch, but has some knitting and crochet thrown in. These days, more knitting than crochet, but that's okay. Thank you to everyone who has been watching and subscribing and liking all of my videos. I truly appreciate everyone spending some time with me. I know that there's lots and lots of videos out there to watch, so I just appreciate and am humbled that you do take time to stop by here before you go on to the next video. So I was supposed to film last week, and again, life just got in the way. I didn't have time. It was warm outside. Right now, it's not too bad here in my part of Michigan, so I snuck up here, and it's not too bad up here right now. I live in a really old home. My home is about 103 years old. No insulation and no AC upstairs, and this is where I need to film. So I'm going to get started and show you the things before it starts to get really warm up here. It seemed there was a storm that blew through earlier, and the weather is pretty cool outside at the moment, but of course that can all change. In my last video, I think I forgot to show you these socks. They were the ones that I was working on during the camping trip, and I finished them, but then I was thinking the other day that I don't know if I showed you the finished set, the finished pair. If I did, please forgive me, but I did finish them. This is using King Cole Fruits in the colorway Strawberry, and they were both pretty much the same. It's a couple differences. This is my first sock where I did the heel flap and the heel turn and ended perfectly with the green, and then started the gusset stitches in the light pink. This one, I only got through the heel flap in the green, the heel turn in the light pink, and then even finished the heel turn in the dark pink, and then did the gusset stitches. And so they did end up a little different, but if you notice, the stripes really aren't that far off. So I don't think that this was necessarily a me problem. I think it was just the way that the color changes were dyed in the skein. But that's okay. They are pretty cute. And these already actually got washed, and it feels like the yarn softened up a little bit, which it wasn't rough or anything. But they do feel a lot softer than when I was knitting them. So that's a bonus. So again, this is King Cole Fruits, and this is Strawberry. I really like that. I got mine last year on the yarn crawl, during the yarn crawl at Stranded in Midland, Michigan. And the yarn crawl is actually going on now. It started on the 20th. It goes through the 29th. I do not make any money by telling you that, obviously, but I just wanted to let you know that it is going on. I don't know if I'm going to go. I had plans on it, but anywho. Okay, so when I got done with those, I did start another pair of socks. I took this yarn with me camping as well, just in case I finished that pair, then I would have something else to work on. So this is sock 1. And I will show you the yarn here in a minute. Oh, I should probably pull these needles out a little bit further. Okay, so I am doing mine obviously to look like the American flag, the USA flag. I had leftover red and white and blue, and so I grabbed them up and I said, let's do a flag pair. There will not be any stars on this pair, but you get the gist. So I did the cuff in all red, then striped, excuse me, and then striped the leg, did the heel flap and heel turn in the red again. And I did that because dirty socks drive me crazy, and I figured that if I did the white on the heel and the heel turn that they would get dirty, and then, you know, that's just not good for me. So, and then I did the blue in the foot in the blue. I'm about 1 inch or so away from finishing this toe, but I put them on the DPNs because I didn't have my measure words today. I didn't have any way to measure this. All of my measuring tools were at home. I forgot to put one in the bag. So I put those over there. I put it over there on the DPNs, and I started sock number 2. And let's see, where am I? Okay, I finished the striping and I just started the heel flap. I'm 4 repeats done, so I'm getting there. And these will get done eventually. Okay, so my white is not doing so hot, as you can see. It needs to be rewound up. My red is kind of similar. My red and my blue are from the Quotable Dumbledore Club from lolodidit from 2020. I do not remember the colors. I used it in the star flag. Not the star flag. I'm so sorry. The scarf that looks like a flag. That is on my Ravelry. I will try to remember to put my Ravelry down below so you can go and take a look at it. But I did use these, and it probably has the names of these in there, but I have no clue. So I did put my ruler, my measuring tool, as I couldn't remember the name of it earlier. And so now I can finish these. I take these to work, and I'm doing them at work, so I don't get a ton of progress every day, but it's something that I don't necessarily need a pattern for, so I can get started quickly and make a lot of progress, or enough progress. The next thing that I have to show you is my second WIPGO piece for the month of July. I don't remember if I showed you piece number 1. There was 3 pieces. The office, I showed you the office. I probably did more work on the office before I put it away that I didn't show you, but we're just going to call that a day, and I'll show you next time. I have no idea what the first project was, but I remember that it was small and I was going to get it done. I don't remember, but this is the second piece. This is the second project, and it's called Autumn is Here by Snowflake Diaries. I just ended up pulling from my stash whatever colors fairly matched. The bird was supposed to be more yellow, and it ended up to be more orange than what the pattern called for, but I do think that it's cute, and I'm calling it a day. So both project 1 and 2 for my WIPGO got finished. I wish I could remember what project number 1 was, but that's fine. So that puts me up to quite a few finishes this year. I will do, at the end of the year, I will do a WIP parade, and I will let you know the totals of all of my finishes, knitting and crochet, which will probably be 0, and cross stitch. So don't worry, I'll give you an update later. So then one day, while I was contemplating being done with the office project for the time being, I was reminded of a couple of charts by Long Dog Sampler that are crossword puzzles. And I had one of them on my wish list for a while, and since I had extra spending money, I decided to go ahead and buy all 3 of them just right now. One of them is a Christmas pattern. I'll put the link below so that way you can just go check out Long Dog Samplers, because they have tons of really cool projects. They're big, but they're really cool. These are probably some of the smaller projects that Long Dog has. And so I decided to get started right away. I already knew what floss color, because as I knew that these were in my wish list, I had designed a plan. So I was using the leftover, I had decided I was going to use a leftover 915 from my pandemic project by Long Dog Sampler, and neutral background to go. So the plan was for all of these to coordinate and go on the wall together, or in the collage that I am trying to create downstairs in my living room. So I got started on this, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that I am over 4,300 stitches done, and I started this on July 9th, and I got done Saturday morning. I think I did a strand or 2 on Saturday morning. So over 4,300 stitches. I do believe I'm at 18%, and this is Krozwyrd by Long Dog Sampler. So this is, I'm not saying I don't like it, but these little motifs here, there's a couple of them. I'm almost finished with them. It was the section in it's also in Pandemic that I disliked the most for some reason. On this one, it's going a little bit more smooth. But for some reason, I just didn't like stitching them in Pandemic. So on this one, what I started in the bottom, right, like I always do, and I started to come across, and I did the square, then I did the T, and then I worked here, and then I worked in the E, and I'm kind of doing one little tiny square section at a time, and I basically have a page finish. That's basically a page finish, just a little bit more in the corner, and I think up here on the top, it's a page finish, because then I have all of this over here, so it's a page finish. But that is 18% of Krozwyrd by Long Dog Sampler. It is on the 18 count antique white Aida that I got a couple weeks ago with the 915 floss. So what I did to get started is I already had all of the floss. I had bought a cone of this for Pandemic, and I had cut all of the floss off of the cone just so that way it would be done. It was a big job, but I did it. So I took 3 skeins worth out of the storage, the stash, and put it on my card. And I don't know how much I've used so far, but it's looking like a skein and a half or more that I've already used. But I have plenty left at least to get through this project. Then I'll have to reassess to see how much I have left for the next one. And if I don't have enough for the next one, then I will go with plan B and figure it out. But like I probably, I seem to be having trouble this afternoon with my words. But what I meant to say earlier is one of the 3 crosswords is a Christmas project. So that one will be in different colors because it's Christmas. These 2, the plan was for them to be in 915. And then the second one, I plan on inverting it. So where they charted a color, I'm going to chart that as negative space and stitch where they charted negative space, if that makes any sense. It does mean that there's about 2,000, 2,500 stitches more to stitch than the way that they charted it, but I just think that it will be striking next to the other 2 projects. I may change my mind, and it's probably it's going to be based on how much floss I have left. If I have less floss than I think I need, then I will probably just do it as charted. But anyway. Okay, so yesterday, Saturday, June 22nd, I decided that it was probably time for me to start my Christmas gift making. If you've been with me for a while, you know the little children. Well, you don't know them, but I've made projects for them in the past. The Boneyard Sweethearts hats for Halloween. I've made a couple flax sweaters, one the tiny baby one and one the regular, like the child 8 years, I think, size. So I decided, hopefully their parents don't watch my video, which I don't think that they do, but I decided it was time to get started on their project. So Saturday, I started one of the projects, and this is what's left of the skein. I am using Patons Classic Wool, and this is fairly old. If you know Patons, you know that this label has since changed probably twice since then. This is called Old Gold, is the color, Old Gold. And I'm almost done with that skein, which means I'm kind of almost done with the project. The pattern says 450 yards for this. I'm getting gauge, but I don't know if their gauge was washed and blacked or just whatever, but according to the pattern, I'm on gauge, and each one of these balls is 223 yards. So I don't think I'm going to use 450, but they're probably generous, so that way if you have to make a gauge swatch. Now, I'm just going to say, I chanced it and did not make a gauge swatch, and this is why. I made a gauge swatch, and this is probably stupid logic, and knitting instructors will probably tell you that I'm wrong, and I probably am, but this is just the way that I decided how to move forward. When I first did the flax, my very first flax sweater, I was on gauge. I did a gauge swatch and I was on gauge and I was fine. I matched them perfectly. So I decided I was going to match them perfectly this time, and I pretty much did. So that's how I did not do gauge swatch. I don't necessarily recommend that for everybody, but if you're getting gauge and I know that there's 2 designers behind Tincan Knits, but if you are getting gauge, then you're getting gauge. But anyways, I probably forgot to say that this is another Tincan Knits project. It's called the Harvest cardigan, or just Harvest, but it's a cardigan, and it's really cute. It needs to be blocked for sure. And I'm hoping that because this is wool, I'm pretty sure this is 100% wool, that it will not mess me up later when I go to wash it. Let's see. Sometimes when the ball band gets super big and floppy, but you don't want to lose the ball band, you can fold it and tape it shut. And it also helps control the rest of the yarn that way too. Yes, it's 100%. It says 100% pure new wool. Whatever pure new wool is. That's very specific. Okay, so you want to see my progress? Here is the progress. This is a really cool pattern. It was easy to follow. I really only got messed up on one, and this is not a paid part necessarily, but the instructions say make one. And I'm like, okay, make one, make one. I know that means increase. You have to increase, but they don't tell you what increase to use. And I did the make one where you pick the bar up from the back and you knit into the front. I don't know which one's that called. I have to write it down every time. But I use the same make one throughout. And I wish that I had done a more invisible make one. The one where you do below. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. But here is my progress. I have the sleeves, obviously. I do have them on waist yarn. I have to do my sleeves. And then this calls for, the bottom edging calls for 3 inches. And I believe I'm just about at 2 inches. But I do not think my ball of yarn is going to make it. I have lots more. I could add on some, but we'll see how I feel. I kind of wanted it to match the width of the collar. So if so, I could bind off now and be done because it's kind of the same as the width of the collar, excuse me. I seem to be burpy this afternoon too. I'm a hot mess, people. However, I don't know if that's long enough, so I might have to stitch I mean, I can get quite a few more rows out of this, believe it or not. So I think I'm going to stitch until I have enough to bind off, and then just bind off and just call that a day as well, because, you know, kids, they're going to go fast. So it doesn't really matter if it's a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch short, because they're going to go fast, and they're, you know, and this is the 1 to 2 year size. So they'd still do a lot of sitting and maybe barely standing and a little bit of walking. Doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't know. I do like it that it's garter stitch and it's just knit, knit, knit. So that is helpful because, you know, it goes a little bit faster, and I keep dropping the yarn. Okay, so there's that. For the next child in the family, I will be designing a cross stitch. I already kind of in my head know what I want it to look like, and then I have to stitch it up. So my goal is to hurry up and finish this. Not hurry up, I mean, once I get done knitting this sweater, I will get to designing it, the cross stitch for the next child in the family, and then I will get to stitching. I will probably be using this 18 count Aida, and I'm just deciding on the colors. I ran the colors past my daughter the other day, and she did not have any input whatsoever. That's fine. And then the third child, the one that I made the flax sweater for Christmas with all the dinosaurs, the oldest one, I have no idea. He may get a store-bought gift if I can't think of anything, because of course I have to. But the one thing that I was thinking, but I don't know if it's a viable option, is mittens. Knitting a pair of mittens. So we will see. if anyone has a suggestion of what to make for, I believe he would be in second grade boy, then you let me know. I do have time for another sweater. I just don't know if we need another sweater. He has several hats from me already. If any of this information helps, that please, suggestions. So I'm not really sure. Okay. I do believe that that is all that I have for you for now. So I'm going to finish the little sweater. I'm going to design and start stitching on the cross stitch for the other child. Then August 1st is coming fairly quickly. It's just over a week away. So I'm going to have 2 new WIPGO projects. And I will do those. If I'm not done with the Christmas project yet, I will do those because it's only $500 each. I'll do those and then get back to the Christmas. I have plenty of time now. The only thing is I have to frame this cross stitch piece, so I need to get busy. So those are my plans for the time being. I'm going to put Krozwyrd away for now because I think I have other things to work on, and I may start. I have other projects. So if I have the inkling to start something else, I will start something else. But the next knitting project after Christmas knitting is my daughter's sweater. And I am realizing that I bought the yarn for that and I left it on the kitchen table and forgot to bring it upstairs to show you. But I did buy some yarn for the sweater that she said that she liked a while ago. I finally bought the pattern, bought the yarn, ready to go. But here's a fun fact. It is a vintage pattern from like the 1930s, 1940s that I bought from someone in the UK. Okay, so they sent this pattern to me. The pattern talks about tension, which I know is gauge. And I know that the language on these old patterns, these vintage patterns, are a little bit different than the modern patterns that we're used to. But it talked about the tension. And I'm like, okay, I can make a gauge swatch. I bought plenty of yarn. I'm not worried about wasting my yarn. Because there's one reason why I don't like gauge swatches is because I feel like it's a waste of resources. But anywho. I have plenty enough yarn to make a gauge swatch. I can make it. And it says, see schematic or whatever drawing below. So all the way below at the very end, it has this little tiny drawing. And it tells you how wide this sweater is supposed to be in the front. And back then they did not use circular needles either because there was no such a thing. Everything was made flat, so everything has to be sewn up. So the front is this much across and the back is that much across, but it does not tell you anything about bust size, negative ease, positive ease, anything. So I sent her a message back and said, can you happen to tell me what the finished bust size is on the one that you made? And I'm assuming that you got gauge. She said, yes, I get gauge. I got gauge. I did my swatch. I got gauge and it's 34-inch bust. And I'm like, oh no, I think I need a 36. This is for my daughter. She said, just make me the 34. It'll be fine. And I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But from what I heard about vintage patterns, that necessarily was not what I was expecting. I was expecting the language in the actual pattern, the instructions to be a little bit different. And because in those patterns, they assumed that the knitter knew all the things and could do all of the things so they didn't have to spell it all out. It does have an abbreviation section, so that I was not expecting. So I expected the instructions to be different. The instructions so far, I read through everything. I skimmed, I read through, and it seems to be very clear. The thing that was not clear was the finished size, and there's only one size. That I was shocked. I was shocked. I didn't expect for them to be like, for this pattern to be like Tincan knits where it has like 8 different adult sizes or whatever. But I expected it for at least to tell you what the finished bust size was and what the ease was, so that way you could figure it out. So that's fun. But my daughter said just go ahead and make the 34-inch. So I'm going to test my gauge when the time comes, and see what the bust size, or see what the finish measurements would be for my gauge versus what the pattern says, to see if that would be maybe a better fit for her than sticking with 34. I don't really know, guys. Oh my gosh. But I'm just going to make it. I just know that no matter what, I have enough yarn to make it's supposed to be short sleeve. You can make it long sleeve. The pattern gives you both instructions, and it tells you how much yarn you need for a short sleeve versus a long sleeve. I have enough to make a short sleeve and a long sleeve. So I know I have enough yarn for whatever happens, but it's just not what I was expecting. So I am pleasantly surprised though, and like it makes my heart happy that I am going to be able to make her the sweater without much issue because the instructions are clear. So I'm going to go with it and see what happens. So you'll see that coming up, because I told her that once I got the Christmas gifts done, I would start her sweater. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to knit it, and I'm going to sew it. I'm going to put it together, and she's going to have a sweater. And hopefully it looks good. That's the most important thing. But okay, those are my plans. I've rambled on enough about it and the vintage pattern. And if you have any questions or anything below, or if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, go ahead and email me. I'm only going to put minimal things in the description box just because it does take up a little bit more time, and a lot of the things I talk about repeatedly. So I'm not going to continue to put all of the information down there. But if you have any questions, you can comment below, or you can email me, and then I will answer in the next video, or I will send you a reply to your email. So everything will be fine. So I hope that you were inspired today by something that you've seen or heard about, to either pick up a languishing whip or to try something new, because you know I am. I learned a new technique on this sweater, and that's what you're supposed to do, is keep on learning. So, and if not, I hope that you just find some time to craft this coming week. And until the next time, bye.